Okay, lesson 4 goes over layers. With this lesson and with every lesson, when I'm doing these tutorials, I'll fly through them pretty quick. You'll need to pause the video and go back and forth between it and Photoshop. This is the start file. You will start with this. Start by selecting the background layer. First of all, go to File, Save As, and first initial, last name, and make sure you have it saved the right way. Select the background layer, and then we're going to go to File, Open, and find that beach file. It should be in your H drive. Open it as well. We will see. Let's double click the layer name and name it beach. I'm going to go to Window, Arrange, 2 up vertical so that we can see both of them. I'm going to select the Move tool, and I'm going to click here and drag it over to this one. I'm going to hold down my Shift key so that when it places it right in the middle of this image over here. You can't see it because it's behind the pineapple, but we're going to fix that in a minute. Go ahead and close this file and do not save. Click the eye icon next to the pineapple layer. That turns it off and you're able to see the image now. Let's go ahead and turn it back on. I'm going to select the beach layer. We're going to make the opaque areas on this layer more obvious. We're going to hide all other layers except the beach layer. So let's hold down Alt and click the eye next to beach. We're going to choose layer. That just hides every other layer besides this one. Choose layer, layer style, and then stroke. I'm going to add a border around this, make it stand out a little bit. Our size is going to be 5. Our position is inside, that's already set. Your blend mode is already set to normal. Opacity should be 100%. And the color, we're going to choose white. I'm just going to come up here. I just click and I drag all the way. I usually come off of the screen to make sure I'm at the very top. Click OK. Click OK. There's a little white border around it. It's kind of hard to see because of the transparent background. That's what the checkerboard indicates, by the way, that it's transparent. But if we put something behind it in a minute, you'll be able to see. Okay. Make the postage Hawaii, flower, pineapple, and background layers all visible. Let's just make everything visible. You can click and drag, by the way, and it will turn them all on or off. Drag the beach layer up so that it is positioned between the pineapple and flower layers. When I click and drag, you'll see that blue line show up. That tells me if I drop it now, that's where it's going to drop, between the flower and the pineapple. Now it's easier to see this 5-pixel white border that we put in. We're going to change the opacity of the layer now. We're going to select this postage layer, this stamp looking thing, and we're going to lower the opacity. If I can either click here and enter the number, or I can drag where the word fill is, and I'm going to drag it down to 25, as close as 25% as I can get. Or you can just type it in. Go ahead and save your work. We're going to click the eye icons next to the Hawaii layer, the flower layer, and the beach layer to hide them. We're going to right click the pineapple layer, not the name, but over here, or not the thumbnail, I'm sorry, but this area out here. We're going to duplicate the layer, if I can find it. Where is it? Am I just not seeing it? Oh, right there. Okay, sorry. Duplicate layer. We're going to add an effect to this. We'll just click OK, and we're going to name it Pineapple Copy. That's fine. It creates a copy of it right above it. we're going to select that pineapple copy layer, and we're going to choose overlay from the blending mode. We're going to add a blending mode here. And as you're going through here, I'm not clicking, I'm just scrolling down. You can see the different effects that you can do. We're going to choose overlay, which is right there. Now we're going to select the postage layer, and we're going to choose multiply right here. Change that blending mode. Go ahead and save. I'm going to click the visibility column on the beach layer, make it active, or make it visible. Then we're going to select the beach layer, choose Edit Free Transform. There's also a shortcut, Control T. That's what I usually use. And we're going to transform. We're going to reduce the size of this by 50%. I think it says. You don't have to be exact, but the width and the height, as you can see way up here in this area, the width and the height shows you what percentage of the original size it is. Went down to 50, and I'm also going to come outside it where my arrow or my cursor turns into 2 arrows. I'm going to tilt it just a little bit. Go ahead and click the commit button. We're going to make wait a second, I missed one. Make the flower layer visible. We want to make sure this is tucked in just about there. That looks about right. Maybe not quite so right. Go ahead and save it. Okay, in the layers panel, select the background layer to make it active, and then click create a new layer button. It's right down here. You could also go to layer, new, and then layer. But this is the easiest way. Double click the name layer 1. We're going to name it clouds. Press enter when you're done. In the tools panel, we're going to select the foreground color swatch right here. It's black and white normally. If you didn't reset your settings when you opened up Photoshop, it is whatever it was last. We're going to click it, and we're going to enter in numbers for this. They say to choose a sky blue, but then they give you the RGB values. So just type in 48, 138, and 174 just to have the same blue that they have. 48, 138, and 174, and click OK. So now our foreground is blue and our background is white. We're going to render clouds. We're going to make look like we're going to computer generate clouds. Is what we're going to do. So go to Filter, Render, Clouds. And you can see back in the background, back behind, underneath all of these layers, shows up these clouds. Choose Save. Okay, the next page, I hope you're following, talks a lot about blending modes, and I want you to read through that and learn more about that. Photoshop. Select the pineapple copy layer, make it the active one, and then we're going to open up our folder where your H drive is. So that you can see the flower 2 right here. I'm not sure, your icon may not look like mine, but this is just showing us through File Explorer that if we click and drag a file onto the picture, it will show up. It will automatically import it that way. I think we're going to move this down. We're going to position the flower 2 layer in the lower left corner, so that I think about half of the top flower is visible. Just about like that, I guess. Click the commit transformation here, check mark. We're going to make the Hawaii layer visible. We're going to add text just below this layer and apply special effects to both layers. Choose select and then deselect layers. That just makes sure no layers are selected. That way, just whatever you do next, if you're creating something, it's going to go on top of everything else. We're going to choose our type tool, text tool. And I don't think you have the font that they say on in the book, but you can choose whatever you want. We're going to go to Window, Character. And here's where you can edit what your text looks like before you even type. I'm going to choose what they chose, and I'm going to do the same settings as they did in the book because my computer has that font, but I'm almost positive yours doesn't. Birch something. There you go. Select. They chose that. Font style is regular. We use 36 points. Okay. Select a large tracking value. 250. Depending on the font you choose, you may not need to go that high. You can select it later and change it. Click the color swatch and choose a shade of grassy green in the color picker. I guess that's grassy green. Click OK. Click the faux bold. Depending on your font, you may not be able to do all these. All caps. And select crisp in the anti-alias. And then just below the letter H, we're going to type. As soon as I click, it puts up this the default text, okay? Just start typing. Don't hit backspace or anything. Just start typing. We're going to type in Island Paradise. Okay, so a couple of things real quick. Just watch. I'm going to go ahead and click the commit up there, that check mark. I can select my move tool and I can move it. If your font is too long, you can go back, choose the type text tool, horizontal type tool, and make sure your cursor is close to one of the last or first letter and highlight it. And then you can come in here and edit what the size or anything you like. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click commit there. Okay, we're going to select the move tool and drag it. We did that. Select the Hawaii layer. Make it active. We're going to right click the thumbnail, not out here, not the layer. We're going to right click the thumbnail. These are thumbnails. These are just little previews. And choose select pixels. That just selects every pixel in that layer. We're going to change the color of this. Actually, we're going to add a gradient, a cool gradient. In the tools panel over here, select the gradient tool. Click the foreground swatch. We changed to green earlier. We're going to change it to bright shade of orange. That would be down here. Okay. Make sure that the linear gradient is selected. That's the first one up here. Just click off over here. That is linear gradient. Make sure the mode is normal, I believe. Let's see. Let's click the arrow next to the gradient and make sure to select the foreground and background. It's the one. Got that. Grab the gradient tool from the bottom. Drag the gradient tool from the bottom to the top. If you're not real good at going straight, and this doesn't have to be straight, you can hold down your shift key and that will make sure it stays straight. You can try different ones. I just hit Control Z to undo. You can see what this does. If I go way far, then a lot of orange shows up. If I just go a little bit, then just a little bit of orange shows up. So experiment with it for just a little bit so you'll understand why or how this works. Let's see, we've done that. Press select and deselect. I always just hit Control D. I'll do it on the screen so you can see it. But Control D is what I always use to deselect. Okay, select the Island Paradise layer. It's the text we entered. We're going to add a drop shadow to this text. We're going to go to Layer, Layer Style, and choose drop shadow. Make sure that the preview option is selected. It should be, it's the default right here so that we can preview it. Let's select use global light. Not there, not there, not there. It's already selected. Okay. Blend mode is multiply already. Opacity is 75%. I'm just going to type that in. Angle is 78 degrees. It's already set. Distance is 5 pixels. The spread is 30%. The size is 10. I'm just tabbing through. When I enter these numbers, I'm using my tab key, and I shift tab goes backwards, by the way, to tab through these after I enter in the numbers that they want. Click OK to accept those changes, and you'll see the drop shadow shows up down here below it. Make sure that the eye icons appear for both items nested in the Island Paradise layer. Okay, you can you can show the effects that we just did, or you can hide those. Those aren't permanent on there. Make sure that they're both there. And we're going to hold down Alt, and we're going to drag this effect down to the Hawaii layer. We want this same drop shadow on the Hawaii layer. So rather than go through the whole process of the layer style, blah, 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 we can copy this effect down. So I'm going to hold down my Alt key, and then I'm going to click and drag this down to the Hawaii layer. And it automatically drops that drop shadow into the Hawaii layer. Select the Hawaii layer in the layers panel. Click, we're going to add another layer effect. Right down here, this FX, we're going to select that button, and we're going to choose stroke. Our size is going to be 4. Our position is going to be outside. Our blend mode is normal. Opacity is 100% and green. We're going to select a shade that goes well with the one you used for the Island Paradise text. It wants you to get close to this color green down here. If you bring your cursor outside onto this, you can actually just select that green that you already had, and it will make you exactly like it. As soon as I clicked that, that drop shadow showed up around Hawaii. Click OK. I'm going to click OK. The next to the last page, select the flower layer and choose Layer, Layer Style, and Drop Shadow. I'm just going to come down here and choose Drop Shadow. Just a quicker way to get to it. We're going to change the opacity to 60%, the distance to 13. Tabbing again. Our spread is 9. And make sure use global light is selected. Okay, click OK. So the flower, you see the shadow down there? If I turn the effects off, you can see the difference in it. If I turn the effects back on, you can see that there's the drop shadow again. Okay, make sure global light. Do not click OK. Crap. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm gonna go back. Hit Control Z. I'm gonna undo. Stroke, drop shadow right there. Okay, sorry about that. I'm gonna zoom in just a little bit so that you can see this. Going back to the flower layer, drop shadow. The same settings should be there. Yeah, 60, 13, the same ones I just put in there, 60, 13, and 9. If the layer style is still open, we're going to click the word satin on the left to select it and display its options. So satin, if I just click satin right here, it would apply the effect, but it doesn't give me the options that I want to change. So I actually have to select out here, and that applies the changes, but now I can choose what options I want. The color is going to be that enhances the flower color, such as a fuchsia hue. What the heck is fuchsia? Like a purple? Sure. Okay. I don't know if you know what fuchsia is. Choose whatever. Opacity is 20%, and the distance is 22. Leave everything else alone. Now we can click OK to apply those changes. So down here, we can turn off the drop shadow. We can turn off satin. We can turn on drop shadow. We can select those and view those just to see what the difference is and see if we like it. And just so you know that you can view or not view those. Okay, select the flower 2 layer. Click the hue saturation icon in the adjustments panel. The hue saturation is this one, I believe. Yes, this one is hue saturation. We're going to add an adjustment layer right above it. In the properties panel, apply the following settings. The hue is 43. I'm just going to type this. The tab to the saturation is 19. We're going to leave the lightness at 0. 43, 19, and 0. Right click the layer name on the hue saturation adjustment layer and choose create clipping mask. Again, I'm having problems finding it. Okay, so we clipped it. Let me explain that. When we applied this, let me just step back here. Notice that it applied that hue saturation to everything. Look at that. Pineapple is really green. And the clouds changed a little bit darker. We want it to just affect the flower 2 layer. So we're going to clip it, create a clipping mask so that it just affects that. And no, this flower actually. Is it flower 2? Did we do the right one? Yes. This flower down here, you can see the difference if we turn on and off the visibility to it. And that's it, dude. You're dudes and dudettes. You're done. Make sure you do file save.